Welcome back to our show. I was just talking about real estate agents giving a lot of lip service. And then, of course, what do? We have a good friend of our show on, Tyler Freed, branch manager with Windermere Real Estate, who certainly does a lot more than just lip service. And you can tell simply by the amount of buyers and sellers he works with and his excellent reviews all over the internet and Zillow and whatnot. Tyler, buddy, how are you?
I'm doing good. How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Good.
Fun to goof around a little bit. But you do know there's a lot of real estate agents that give a lot of lip service and do not have either the systems or the assistance or the people or the knowledge to really back up what they're selling.
Yeah, that's a big challenge that buyers are going to run into. You got to trust the guy you're working with, and laying out expectations that are realistic. That's a big part of what we do every day. Do
you tend to think that some people who understand the expectations get more afraid of actually purchasing that home because it's not something you can just kind of dip your toe into?
Right. I've always found the more realistic the expectations you give them, they feel a lot better and more comfortable. There's no surprises. I guess that's a big fear that everybody has. They don't know what's going to happen.
Sure. So when you talk to a buyer about the process, what is that process? How do you keep it palatable for somebody?
Well, we sit down, we have those buyer counseling sessions. And we try to kind of break everything down into 6 steps there. So the first one, obviously, get pre-qualified. And, I can pass them along to Ryan at Cobalt there, or a lender that they trust. And that's the biggest first step there. You got to figure out how much you can qualify for. It's like going shopping. You got to see how much you have on your credit card before you can go out there and purchase.
or in your bank account.
Yeah, exactly.
For those who are trying to be a little bit more financially responsible.
Yeah. So you got to know, because there's nothing worse than going and looking at a house you can't afford. So that's a big first step there.
And that really then does open up the right doors to say, because now if you're setting up your online search or whatever whatever houses you truly are going to go open the doors from, you have an idea if you could afford this.
Yeah, once you know that number, you can start out and get online, jump onto the major websites. I have a lot of people that search on Zillow, Redfin, Windermere.com, Donald Scott, Realtor.com, and just start identifying what you're looking for. And once you have that number, you're able to hit those sites up and take a peek at some stuff you like.
So it's really that second step.
Yeah, that's definitely number 2. And then when you're looking at these homes, write down the MLS numbers and hand them off to your realtor. Let them know what you're interested in looking at, and that's that step there.
Mm-hmm. And so then when you hand those off to the realtor, what happens? I mean, what do you do?
Well, as a realtor, you got to make sure that home's available, make sure that the financing terms work for your buyer, and then we go ahead and we set up the tour. I always tell buyers no more than 7 or 8 homes on a single tour, because everything gets a little foggy after that. And the biggest key there and tip is to make sure these buyers are driving by the homes beforehand. You'll be able to tell a lot about the home, the condition of it, the exterior. How's the roof doing? Is it falling apart?
The neighborhood.
Yeah. How do the neighbors look? Are they got, they have an auto body shop in their backyard?
Yeah.
Or are they taking care of their property too? So that's huge.
Or auto body shop in their front yard.
Yeah.
Why is it always Ford Mustangs that are out in front yards on blocks, by the way?
Everyone's got a dream. They want to fix up something, right?
All right, fix up an 84 Ford Mustang. That's why you got to drive by, though. I mean, well, maybe you're a car enthusiast, though, and that's really what you're looking for.
Yeah. Hopefully that's not the case, right?
Hopefully that is not the case. You don't want your new neighbor's old Ford Mustang on blocks. So once you find a house that maybe doesn't have a car on blocks in the front, maybe you've actually found yourself a winner at that point in time.
So the agent will put together kind of a mini CMA, comparative market analysis, and they'll figure out what certain stuff is selling for around that home that's similar, and then you'll come to terms of what you want to offer once you found that home. And at that point, hopefully it's not a multiple offer situation. We've been talking all year long about those multiple offers. If it is, then you're probably going to want to come close to full price, if not a little bit more. If it's been on the market for a while, I tell buyers to kind of look for that home. If it's vacant, the owners probably have somewhere else that they're paying a mortgage on, so you might have a little bit of wiggle room, especially if it's been on the market for more than a couple weeks. So that market analysis helps you explain your offer, and then we put together a letter of the buyers explaining them to the seller, and with that, send it on over.
Send it on over to the listing agent.
Yep, send it on over to the listing agent. Sometimes we'll present it if it's a multiple offer situation, or if we think that'll be in our best interest to go that route.
And so as you go through this process, I mean, this is really where you guys become an integral part of the purchase of a home.
Yeah.
Because it's not, okay, here's your 6 steps, good luck, tap them on the butt and tell them to get in the game. I mean, you're holding their hand oftentimes through this process.
Yeah, this first meeting is just huge. You're explaining the process, and it's a big time for question and answer. I mean, you get a ton of different questions from people, ranging from who actually pays the commission, or how much money do we need for a down payment, or how come there's not a lot of inventory out right now. We're answering those questions, give them an idea.
So when somebody asks you why there's not a lot of inventory, what do you say? Not a lot of people want to sell their houses. I mean, it's
that's kind of the case, and we're not seeing a lot of those bank-owned inventory that we're expecting to see.
Yeah.
We're starting to see a little bit more of those, and actually, I'm hoping to see some more inventory soon because we're seeing prices rise a little bit. So those sellers that have been underwater, hopefully, will be able to come back and play and jump back in the market.
Well, a lot of people tend to think that once you found the house and you have this contract signed, it's kind of like, woohoo, celebration time. And that is not the case.
No, I mean, it's very interesting how many deals get mutual acceptance and then fall apart because there's not good follow-through or communication with the lender.
Or they're not prepared.
They're not prepared. They don't, maybe the appraisal comes back low and then you're trying to work with the sellers and that can't come together. We've had a couple inspections fall apart the last month just because the initial walk through the home looked good, and then we got in there and the inspector did his thing, and just a couple things that kind of freaked out the buyers. So there is that possibility that getting that second look at the inspection that you might want to back out, which is totally fine. That's good money spent on that inspection there.
So talk a little bit about how long is from mutual acceptance or when people agree on the contract to the actual close. I mean, what time frame should people be expecting, and what all goes on in that time frame?
Well, sometimes as a cash buyer, it obviously can close really fast. We've seen some of those close in about 2 weeks. But normal financing right now, anywhere between 35, 45 days is safe. Some of the bank owns will take a little bit longer because their review timelines and decision making it's a different beast in itself. So 30 to 45 days is good to go off of.
And then at that point in time, that's when you really got to get your pen handy and shake out that hand, because you're going to end up at closing.
Yeah, so that's closing is going to take place at escrow, and the sellers will come in there and they will sign, and the buyers will come in and sign all their disclosure paperwork, basically saying, hey, you're going to pay X amount of dollars over the next 30 years if you hold on to the home. And once that process is done and everything's signed around and you've spoken to your bank to wire the funds to the seller, everything will get recorded with the county. Usually that's the next day. Sometimes you can do it if you start early and sign in the morning and get it to close that day, but usually closing will happen towards the end of the day around 5 o'clock. You'll get the recording numbers in and your realtor will hand you the keys.
Then you can finally pop that champagne.
There we go.
So when you look at a process that, we explain in about, 8 to 10 minutes, there's so many more intricacies to this. Where do you think people should be wary when they're hiring a real estate agent who maybe doesn't let them know all of these things are going to happen? Because there most certainly must be real estate agents who are out there that really sugarcoat this as if it's going to be this smooth and easy process and put their throw their pom-poms in the air and dance like seagulls.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some agents out there that do dance like seagulls, but I think as a consumer, you got to find someone that you can trust, and it's always a recommendation. Maybe you've already spoken to a lender and they have a person that they recommend, or maybe it's a buddy that just bought a house. Do some research online, Google the agents, figure out if they do have some good, solid reviews in there, and make sure they're meeting with you and being part of the process with you and explaining everything to you, because there's a lot of things have changed over the last few years in this business, so that's really important.
Do you tend to think there's any surefire ways to hire the right agent? We just have about a minute left.
Let's see. Surefire ways to hire the right agent. I always think it's good for any big decision to get recommendations from people. So if you're a really good friend or your parents or your siblings purchased a home, talk to them, figure out who they used, and then if that's not the case, then just jump online and do some research. And even as a buyer, feel free to interview 2 or 3 agents that you feel might do the best job and make a decision from there.
Yeah, and I guess to that point, it's okay to say no. Like, look, I feel like this person's a better fit for me.
Yeah, and that happens. Not everybody's going to connect and feel like you're doing the best job, and so that's a big part of it. It's just someone you get a good feeling from.
And if there's too much lip service up front, too much lip syncing, too much Beyonce in the room, then you feel free to say, look, you know what? I feel like this is not the right fit.
You're not delivering. Exactly.
You are not delivering the show we expected.
To the left.
That's right. Hey, buddy, thanks for joining us again. Again, Tyler Freed. I just got that joke.
That's okay. It's early. It's early.
Look at you. Tyler Freed, branch manager with Windermere Real Estate. We have to go to break. We'll be right back.